You ever felt you're being watched sometimes? Have you ever had a cold shiver run down your spine? Sometimes we go through that. Sometimes we look for answers to questions we don't really truly understand. Like, are we truly alone in the universe? Is there life after death? This world is weird. It gets weirder by the day. And in that weird are questions that we have as curious beings known as humans. Tonight, we look into some of those questions and get a little weird. Because we all are just a tad bit weird. Tonight on Weekend Weird. Welcome to Weekend Weird, the show about the weird and mundane out in this universe and beyond. I'm your host, creator, producer, Mr. Everything, RedNick. I'm joined by today on this episode by my brother, Chris. You remember him from the first OJ Simpson episode. Go ahead and say something, Chris.
I just took an edible, so I feel real good right now.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Chris. I really appreciate that, man. Well, if you're listening to this, we're in day I totally forgot of the great quarantine of the world.
It's like World War Z, and I am legend to each other right now.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is right now. Hell, we're recording this from two different places.
Yeah, absolutely, we are. And we both watching Tiger. What is Tiger?
Tiger King.
Tiger King in our separate locations.
Exactly. Yes, we're recording this watching Tiger King. Oh God. Yeah. Well, if you're listening to this, you're still alive. Thank God. Hopefully, you're staying indoors. Writing your congressman and senator, telling them to pressure the federal government to give us tests so we know who the hell has this virus and we could start trying to get back to normal because this really sucks.
Nothing will ever be normal again because everything is going to be weird. Weekend weird.
This is why I love you, Chris. You say the stupidest shit in the world and then think it's funny.
It's the Jack Daniels talking right.
Yeah, I bet it is. Hell, I got a damn beer somewhere. Try to. Well, no one can see this right now.
I can see you. You can see this, but I want to see your beer.
It's in the refrigerator. Here, well, I'll grab it in a little bit.
Right, you don't gotta get up and grab it.
I am a beer drinker. What are you talking about?
Okay.
All right. Well, topic of this episode, since when this will air, is supposed to be, well, technically still is, WrestleMania weekend. Now, if you're know what WrestleMania weekend is. It's the biggest event, and as they call it, sports entertainment. And the rest of the world calls it wrestling, or as old timers like my grandmother call it, wrestling. Watching that wrestling again, as she used to say when we were younger, which me and my brother both thought that she couldn't pronounce wrestling. Come to find out, wrestling is a term people in the South you call professional wrestling. Wrestling. It actually is a distinct style of professional wrestling, but we'll get to that different day, different time. Again, this is WrestleMania weekend, a lot of shows going on, but where the WWE, the World Wrestling Entertainment, formerly the World Wrestling Federation, would call their pretty much their Super Bowl weekend. This is professional wrestlers' Super Bowl weekend. And they come up and show you the greatness of which is the WWE and all their superstars. Excuse me. But one story they choose not to put out there that much is the story of one of their wrestlers by the name of Chris Benoit. Chris, you want to jump in and tell your memories of Chris Benoit?
Well, being that he's so far has been kind of erased from the professional wrestling industry and anything outside of what fans bring up and what the media brings up. You know, none of the major sports, majors, you call wrestling a sport or with entertainment. None of the organizations bring his name up. One of the biggest memories I remember of Chris Benoit, actually, it's kind of hard to, when you think of his name, you think about what happened, what he did. So it's kind of like that foreshadows everything that he's accomplished in professional wrestling. But, you know, right now, to be honest with you, outside of the wrestling with shadows, you know, that's what comes up right now, you know, how they did an excellent job. They did not an excellent job, but they didn't really go into like a conspiracy. This is what you're going to do, RedNick, on the weekend weird.
I'm going to go ahead, finish.
And what happened? You know, they did a pretty good job, you know, telling, being more detailed into it. So between that and I would say Chris Jericho's podcast that he had with Chavo Guerrero and David Benoit, which is Chris Benoit's son, living son, and Nancy Benoit's only sister. You know, Chris Jericho kind of also helped the novel, tying some new stories on it. But, you know, as for the WWE, which the company worked for, I would definitely say, you know, not really shame on them, but it's kind of like, how, you know, dare you kind of like, even though I understand he did was like horrible, it's a lot more horrible shit. You know, nothing compares to what he did, but it's some other horrible shit that other people have worked for that company has done, and they haven't erased their memories.
Right. What my brother's talking about is a documentary series on Vice. It's called The Dark Side of the Ring. They just premiered their second season, and they did a two-parter on Chris Benoit, which is total coincidence that it happened to come out at that time and us doing this episode. I've been meaning to do this episode for a while now, but I wanted to make it towards WrestleMania weekend.
I'm glad, because I was just thinking that, like,
yes. If you want to see the documentary after you listen to this podcast, it's on YouTube right now. It's for free. You could just type it up in the other episodes from the previous season, and around the time that this episode will be released is they've already debuted their third episode of the season, but that's near or far between. The WWE has, once they found out what had happened that fateful day in June of 2007, they decided to completely bury the name Chris Benoit, not mention him, not mention his accomplishments whatsoever. Looking at their point of view, you don't know what would you do in that situation. The man had killed his wife and child. I mean, what exactly would you have done in that situation also? I mean, barring what he had accomplished in the ring, this puts you in a very particular pickle. But you don't forget about the people who survived this tragedy. Mainly Benoit's other son and daughter from previous marriage, and his then wife Nancy Benoit remaining family, or Chris Benoit's remaining family. Also, excuse me, they're victims in this too, and they were not taken care of and given help by the WWE. It's literally the WWE told all the wrestlers involved, even the friends of Chris Benoit, that their family is persona non grata. So I understand WWE's in a tricky situation, and not only that, and outside entities that really don't know anything about professional wrestling are attacking professional wrestling and have been attacking professional wrestling for years, whether it's a circus carnival act or everyone's on steroids or they're violent people. One of the purposes of the episode is to pretty much get into the story a little bit of what had happened and dispel some of the myths that are out there about Chris Benoit, because this is a pretty fascinating case. And also, as much flaws that professional wrestling has had over the years, and there's a lot of flaws, just like a lot of other sports around the world. Us, the fans, we love this sport. We love watching it. Right now, we're sitting in this quarantine, and I can tell you right now, we miss professional wrestling live. We miss it. It's not just the big companies, WWE and now AEW, All Elite Wrestling, that comes on TNT, but the smaller shows, the international shows. We miss being there. We miss watching it, and we want to get this back as quickly as possible. Yeah, there's a lot of flaws, a lot of things.
I like watching stuff for free at home.
I like watching it for free at home and also watching it live in person. That's just me. You had a good time at the last live. You had a good time at the last live show we went to, AEW Revolution.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. That was different, unique,
Yes.
But, that's just me.
Yes, but all right, let's get a little bit into the story, because the story's been told on multiple podcasts, wrestling podcasts, true crime podcasts. We're just going to get a little bit into the story a little bit, give you a little background on Chris Benoit, who he was a person, talk about the fateful day, and talk about some of the answers what people had and what had truly happened that day. Chris Benoit's full name was Christopher Michael Benoit. He was born May 1967. He had a 22-year career in professional wrestling, working for various promotions such as the WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, or back when he joined World Wrestling Federation, World Championship Wrestling, the defunct competitor of the WWE, ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling, another defunct wrestling corporation, and New Japan Professional Wrestling, the number one wrestling promotion in Japan. He had held 22 championships between all those federations, and he was a two-time world champion, one time in WCW, another time in WWE. He held 22 championships.
Damn, that's a lot. Keep talking.
Again, he was a WCW World Heavyweight Champion, and he was the World Heavyweight Champion in WWE. And he was also booked to win a third World Championship, the ECW World Championship, on the day of his death, because they had brought back ECW. He was the 12th WWE Triple Crown Champion and 7th WCW Triple Crown Champion, and the second of four men in history to achieve both the WWE and WCW Triple Crown Championships. It means winning all of their major belts. He's also the one of only two men to enter the Royal Rumble. What, Chris?
Don't forget, why you say this, we both are looking at Tiger King on two different locations, so you're going to hear some chuckle to laugh and stuff.
Okay, all right. So trying to keep it down. He was also one of only two men, the other one being Shawn Michaels, to enter number one in the Royal Rumble and win it all. So...
And Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't another one?
He did not enter number one.
I thought it was Roman Reigns.